This was considered a very safe place to be, whether day or night, until a jogger found a body right back in these woods. According to neighbors, Gerald Holmes, who lives in this home right here, heard the ATV riders and dirt bikes speeding up the street. Those riders turned around. That's when Gerald grabbed this recycling bin, threw it at an ATV rider. You can see it's in pieces now. And then Gerald was hit by another ATV. I talked to attorney Phil Tracy about this case, and he thinks a year in jail is fair because speed and alcohol were not factors. He says this case is a perfect example of why none of us will be able to legally talk on the phone in the car unless it's completely hands-free. It is a beautiful day up here in Griffith Park. Many people out here taking their pets for a stroll. Well, coyotes have always been something that they had to worry about, but lately there seems to be a pack of them preying on your pets. She came from this way, came right up to this hill, probably didn't see the 8-foot drop, drove her car down into this sand trap. You can still see the damage from the front end of her car right there. And if you look back here, this is from her trunk. Yes, Maria, and even the officer who got stabbed was shocked when he saw that x-ray. That knife that went into the back of his neck out through the front missed his spinal cord by less than a centimeter. Tonight, that man is walking and talking and taking his recovery one day at a time. To the DA's office, the crash happened right here on Route 138 in Canton. The suspect was traveling one way in her car, the victim traveling the opposite way. Now, according to the court documents, the suspect veered into oncoming traffic. She crossed those double lines and hit the victim head on. When you come to Los Angeles and you want to see what the city looks like from up above, Griffith Park is the place to be. Several tourists out here trying to get that great shot, but it's hard. The smog so thick right now, they say it's worse than New York. Prosecutors say the evidence found on one local man's computer led to an international bust. One picture sparked a worldwide crackdown on child pornography. Tyisha Fernandes live inside our Beacon Hill studio tonight to explain. Ty? Well, the minimum sentence for a case like this that includes the distribution and production of child porn is 15 years. Today, a federal judge gave 48-year-old Robert Tyisha 18 years and 10 years of supervision once he's released. The U.S. Attorney's Office didn't think 15 years was enough for Robert Tyisha. They asked a judge to rule beyond the minimum requirement, and that's what they got, an 18-year sentence.
This was more than a worthy sentence for the nature of his crimes.
It all started with one photo of child pornography on Tyisha's computer. He sent it to dozens of other people online, and federal agents tracked him down in Milford, Massachusetts.
We conducted a search warrant, arrest warrant with the Massachusetts State Police, and from there our agents started the analysis of all the evidence we uncovered in his residence at his workplace.
They discovered 27,000 images and videos of children, the youngest child involved just 1 year old.
It's one of those things that once you see it, you wish you never saw. It really is horrendous, the things that these kids have put through.
33 people have now been arrested in this international child porn ring from North America to Switzerland all the way to Japan. And 87 children, 8 of them here in the U.S., have been rescued. Federal agents say this monumental case exposed people who need to be prosecuted, but there are plenty more out there.
We operate without borders, without boundaries when it comes to tracking them down and bringing them to justice so that they can hurt no more children.
Tyisha's defense attorney, Richard Sweeney, says that one of the reasons why his client became involved in this, he was sexually abused as a child. Tyisha says someone took inappropriate pictures of him and he was looking for them online.
We made it clear that he accepts full responsibility. He's very aware of what he's done.
In the courtroom today, the judge asked Tyisha if he wanted to address the court after the 18-year sentence was handed down. He stood up and said no. Also, none of his family members were in the courtroom today because the defense attorney advised them not to be there. Live inside our Beacon Hill studio, I'm Tyisha Fernandes.
Because if I didn't have this device, I would not be here. I would probably end up dying.
Hooked up to a life-saving machine that keeps his artificial heart pumping, Jim Corelli is living a new lifestyle at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, far from the retired lifestyle of vacationing with his wife Jane and enjoying the toys he worked so many years in the Braintree schools to finally get.
That was last summer.
Late last year, Jim noticed his legs were swelling, and at first he thought it was just a symptom of getting older. But after one of his normal, rigorous weight training workouts, his heart went into AFib, atrial fibrillation, which means the upper part of his heart started beating faster than the rest. He went to see a doctor.
and our worst fears were realized. I had cardiac amyloidosis, and there is no cure.
No cure and no current heart donor. So Jim decided to be the first one to try the artificial heart that will probably hold him over until he gets a real one.
It's not a difficult choice when you want to live, and I wanted to live.
This is an exact replica of the artificial heart that's inside Jim Corelli's chest. Right now, it weighs less than a real heart, and it's expected to last 28 months, maybe even longer. The doctor's intent is to have it last as long as it takes to get a donor.
Donors are very scarce, and we really want to increase awareness about that as well.
Jim also needs a kidney transplant. When his heart started to fail, his kidneys weren't functioning properly. So now he'll undergo dialysis treatments until they can be replaced.
Whether it be a heart or a liver or a kidney, anything, even for blood or bone marrow, it's very important to consider being a donor.
With part of his medical team behind him at this press conference, Jim thanks his lifesavers.
It isn't possible to publicly thank all the caring and supportive doctors and nurses who made this possible and encouraged me every day.
While he waits for a new human heart and kidneys, Jim is taking it one step at a time. In Boston, Tyisha Fernandes, Fox 25 News.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!
This was the sound a town worker heard when he ran over a firework with a lawnmower in this field yesterday. Today, the field was combed for more explosives, and fire officials found another one. State police and ATF officials used a bomb squad to detonate it.
Biggest concern was innocent people walking up to something like that and having an injury from it.
There could have been a serious injury yesterday when that town worker was mowing the lawn. That's why today this team made of fire officials, town and school workers combed the field looking for more. So you heard the sound that one firework made when the ATF officials set it off. Well, now take a look at the damage. This is what it did to the ground.
Well, that actual piece of pyrotechnic is probably enough to blow your hand off, potentially kill you.
Pyrotechnico is the Pennsylvania company that was contracted to run 11 different fireworks displays in Massachusetts. By law, they have to search the area the next morning to see if there are shells left behind. The fire chief says they documented that they did that 6:30 Wednesday morning, but evidently it wasn't done correctly. State Fire Marshal Steve Cohn ordered the company to return to all 11 sites, produce inventory paperwork, and the company's user certificate has been taken away for now.
And it's about indicating to that company by a direct order from the fire marshal, get back there, work with the local fire department and do an extensive search to determine if there are shells.
So far, shells have been found in Stoughton, Wilmington, and Ware.
The firework company's got a bad batch of these 1.3 commercial fireworks.
And that's why the state fire marshal is conducting a full investigation. Lilu and Liam just moved into their new Gardner home 2 months ago. Instead of spending Independence Day here in their new yard, their parents decided to spend a few days in Maine. When they returned to Cleveland Road, they found these mysterious holes in one side of their house. They could see right through to the outside, and pieces of shrapnel, like this one, were deeply lodged in the wood.
I was completely befuddled, had no idea what had happened. With the way it looked, at first I'm like, was there an animal in here that somehow got that far up the wall and was trying to crawl out? Did someone shoot at the house?
Well, sort of. According to investigators, their neighbor had a homemade cannon in his backyard, made of an old cast iron pipe and some gunpowder. On July 3rd, it malfunctioned and exploded while it was sitting on this device. Several pieces of shrapnel went flying and made holes in the neighbor's home on one side, and on the other side, the Williams home was damaged.
And it just came up with so much force, it just went straight through and made a massive hole on the inside. Within inches, it easily could have taken out the electrical and, caused a fire.
I have never heard anything that loud in all my life. I felt it. You felt the blast in my chest.
What did you think it was?
I don't know. We all just kind of went, are we still here?
Matt found 4 holes total. One of them just a foot from this infant swing that 3-month-old Liam sits in every day.
During the cleanup, we actually found a big chunk of drywall from the blast hole in his swing. So if he had been there, he definitely would have been, he could have been severely injured.
Another really scary part of this story, this is Matt's 5-year-old daughter's room. A piece of shrapnel came right through this room, right near the bed. If she was home, playing on her bed or playing in her toy chest here, this situation could have been much, much worse.
Somebody really could have got killed.
When police were initially checking out the damage, the neighbor who had the cannon showed up at the door.
Oh, you could smell the alcohol the moment I turned around. I mean, I was within 5 feet of him and you could smell it. And I was just like, you know, kind of all clicked right then. It's like, you know, that just alcohol and black powder don't mix.
I knocked on his door to get his side of the story, but no one answered. Police say no charges have been filed yet, but they're investigating this explosive device, along with the state fire marshal's office. In Gardner, Tyisha Fernandes, Fox 25 News. You're looking at a real X-ray of a correction officer's neck after an inmate allegedly stabbed him with a homemade knife.
When I first went to the ICU, they told me he could be quadriplegic for the rest of his life. They told me he could die in surgery.
Nicole Bavay is speaking for her husband Nathan because the incident at the Shirley prison that almost killed him and injured 6 other correction officers is under investigation by the Worcester County DA.
He doesn't want to cause a conflict in that, so he's just kind of stepping back and letting them do all the investigating that has to get done as far as what happened and what will happen. So he's kind of staying in the shadows right now.
Here's what allegedly happened on June 25th. Nathan, an officer at the Sousa Barnowski Correction Center, was conducting a cell search looking for contraband. He found a homemade coffee maker, and since prisoners cannot have hot water in their cells, he took it. As he was leaving, an inmate pounced on him and stabbed him in the neck with the homemade knife. As other officers rushed in to help, they were also allegedly attacked. The entire prison is still on lockdown tonight as investigators get to the bottom of what happened.
Honestly, we don't really even talk or think about that. Maybe we should be to some degree, but I mean, never once did I ask who the con was or cared to know. Like, I'm just happy my husband's alive and well.
Even though Nathan is home from the hospital, there are still several things that need to be done as far as his recovery. That's why his wife set up this med table here with all of his cleaning supplies, and I'll just show you this one. This is used to clean his feeding tube.
God really did give us our happy ever after back. You know, he could be in a wheelchair right now, and every day could be so different. And right now, every day he gets a little better. So it's a positive future for us.
They covered their dining room wall with all the cards and letters of support they've received. Some say a simple get well. Others say things like, don't worry, you'll land on your feet.
I think we've just realized now we can get through anything together. You know, we're best friends forever, no matter what happens.
Nathan has been recovering for 3 weeks now, and even though he didn't want to go on camera tonight, I saw him and spoke with him in his living room. He sat in a chair with a bandage over his trachea and talked about how lucky he is to be alive, and he's amazingly positive, and he has a strong support system around him. Maria?